Hi, everybody. So I am a Sutradhar today. The whole idea of doing this show is as Damini said, that we all inspire each other. Sometimes our small stories, we find it too small even to mention it. And we always look at others and we think, oh my God, somebody else is doing a great job and we are just a drop in the ocean. So the whole idea today is like bring out people, bring out our stories. So we all know that there is something to learn, something to share, something to be inspired about. So I'll start with Sangeeta Sofat, ma'am. I will call her ma'am because first time when I met her, I interviewed her. She's a teacher. And so I start with Sangeeta, ma'am. And we have here Aparna, Anupma. So let's hear their stories from their own self because it will it will come across as how they want to speak it.
Thank you, Meeta. Please call me, feel free to call me Sangeeta. I even, it's an honor, but you can call me Sangeeta. And it's the most difficult thing to do is to introduce yourself. But as most of you know me, and those who don't, I'm a teacher by passion as well as profession. And I have been into teaching for over 25 years now. And basically, it is because I love the company of children. I feel that it gives me a chance to shape their personalities. I get a chance to mentor and nurture them, and at the same time, build their confidence. So, a teacher's role is manifold, and over the years, I feel that every year I'm learning something new, which I think I need to teach the children. So I love this. We may call it a job of mine, but yes, it's my innermost passion. Besides teaching, I also once in a while love painting, and I have also tried my hand on pistol shooting for a few years, and Meeta knows that. And I'm also, an active member of the Dehradun Literature Festival. Moreover, I like to speak on social issues because I think I need to create awareness in the society regarding certain social matters. And somebody has to start somewhere. And if I have a voice to speak, I feel that I must bring about that change in the society. Especially disability, because I'm differently abled. And I feel that I am in a position to understand the persons with disabilities far better, and also the attitude of the society towards such people or us. So that is what I generally like to do, and I try my hand in everything possible that I can, do. At the same time, to tell you about my story in a nutshell, I was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy at the age of 4. Fast forward 10 years, I was an adolescent, and it was at that time that it struck me that it's going to be very, very difficult for me in the next few years. Because as a child, we are living in a very protected environment. We don't realize what's happening with us. I do remember me being taken from one hospital to the other, but I did not realize the gravity of the situation at that time. So when I was an adolescent, I started noticing certain changes in me. There was a peculiar gait that I had. There were small little things that I couldn't do. I couldn't participate in sports and all. But other than that, I could do most of the things like the normal children do. So it did strike me. It did hurt me. I did ask a few questions to myself when I realized that it was a serious problem with me. But even then, I feel that till I was in school, I didn't feel, I wasn't that hurt, or I did not actually realize the seriousness of the problem, because we are living in a very protected environment. At home, I never, had heard my parents talking about it, because they treated me normally. I would do everything like normal children. In school, my friends uh, never asked me, if there was something wrong with me or why I had a peculiar gait. So on and off, one or two incidents did happen, and they did leave a scar on my mind, but not to that extent, because things were pretty under my control. It was only when I stepped out of the school that things became a little worse, and I started noticing the attitude of the people towards me had changed, because that peculiar gait was becoming much of a problem, and I had difficulty in walking and climbing steps and things like that. And the attitude of the people who would just stop and ask me, what has happened with you? Are your parents not doing anything about it? So those were questions that hurt me, that how do you know that my parents are not doing anything about it, or I am not doing anything about my problem? And the fact that there was a time when I remember there were people who would just stop me on the way, and they would just keep staring at me. And it was just a few years back. I thought it was high time and I had to stop. And I kept, whatever. I came back with my, I was with a stick at that time. And I walked 2, 3 times in front of them. And I thought that was my first ramp walk. And then after 3 rounds, I said, anything else? If you still want to see more of me, I can take another couple of rounds. And they probably were taken aback by that attitude, or what I had done. And they uh, said sorry, and they just moved ahead. So things like these had started happening. And that time I realized that, yes, these are my shortcomings, and I will face all these things in the near future. I was told that very soon you might be on a wheelchair, though that was prolonged. I don't know how, but now I'm on a wheelchair, but it did happen very late. And but at the age of 20, I was supposed to be on a wheelchair. And I thought to myself that no, I cannot live like this. Life is so beautiful, it's so colorful, it's so bright, and I need to live this life that God has gifted me with. And it's a heavenly experience to be born as a human being. And I need to accept this. I always remember, I always say this, that my father had taught me at a very young age that look at what you have and not at what you don't have. So value what you have. So I started realizing I need to value myself. I need to respect myself for who I am. I may be physically disabled, as people say, but when you talk of a person's spirit, my spirit is not disabled. So my spirits are always high, and that probably helped me move forward. And I decided that this roller coaster ride is not to be taken. It needs to be, embraced. I'll enjoy that ride. I'm not going to resent, that I am disabled every moment of my life, and be happy. And here I am before you today. Thank you.
So Sangeeta, ma'am, I'll try to call you Sangeeta, but it's every time I hear your story, you know that it's so motivating, so motivating. And every time I see you stepping up, more smiles, more energy, more looking forward in your attitude, your spirit. That's always been. And as you said, Ki, I don't know how to tell my story. Your story is something worth being shared with everybody, and we never pat our shoulders. So that's the attitude I like about you, that you feel that life is worth living, nothing should be a hurdle. And empathy and sympathy, people have a very they don't understand the difference between empathy and sympathy. So thank you for being with us today. We
Thank
already see so many comments here. And so we go to Aparna. Hi Aparna.
Thanks, Mita. It's really pleasure to be here and an honor to be here and to be, I mean, I often, I wonder, I don't know what's so, spectacular or anything about my story, because I think it's something that all of us are capable of, managing. So I'll just give you a brief introduction. I'm Aparna. I studied painting, filmmaking, and I had a very, very long career in television, and it was very exciting, and I was, always at work, which I loved. And, but one of the things that I really, really wanted in my life was to find love and to find a partner. And finally, like 11 years ago, I met somebody absolutely amazing, and our meeting was like almost like a whirlwind romance. We had a small self-produced wedding in Goa, and eventually we had a baby 5 years ago, and it was all talked about a lot. And this entire career that I'd had, I had kind of just left it, and I was fine with it because I was pretty burnt out. So I was okay leaving it, but also not okay leaving it. And I remember when my son was 9 months old, I started being not just 9 months old. In fact, right after he was born, I remember thinking, "Oh my God, I need to get back to work, and I need to do something with my life, and do something really solid with my life. Not just I didn't want to focus just on making TV shows, and then what beyond that, right? So I was actively looking at a career in counseling, and then I thought of art therapy because of my background in art. Then I thought, no, this is not what it is. And when my son was 9 months old, my husband and I, we were having a conversation about how a career as a life coach would really suit me. And it was very new, it was exciting, and it would allow me to help people make a difference in their lives and figure how they wanted to achieve their goals. Something which I had been struggling for like a good 7 years, right? But and unfortunately, we were discussing this, and a month later, my husband Ajay died in an accident. And for the first time in my life, I think I was truly terrified. I mean, I've been such an independent woman, but I've never experienced that kind of fear before because I had a 10-month-old baby at the breast. I had absolutely no career, no financial security at that point, and my in-laws were only concerned with having their grandchild next to them. So I had this entire feeling that my life is just, I'm just being pushed around. That I'm not able to take any decisions. That I was so used to taking my own decisions. My parents have always encouraged me into being very, very independent. I went for my own admission from Delhi to Baroda, to the Baroda School of Art, to give my own admission exam. Manage my admission process myself. Admitted myself to the hostel, everything. So I've been very independent, but for me to feel like that I have no control on my life was just like pretty terrible. And I felt that my life had just transformed into something else, from a dream to I had a really beautiful time, the 7.5 years, and suddenly there was nothing. So I think I was like, I was emotionally really down. I was obviously in depression, and I was also physically and mentally exhausted. I was shuttling between my parents' house, my in-laws' house, my sister's house. Constantly, I was, going between this house, that house. My child was like, always whaley, and so was I. And then I decided one day that I said that, okay, this is enough. I mean, I have to do what even Ajay would have told me to do, not just myself, but even my husband would have said, get on with your life. You have to move forward. You can't just keep sitting here and saying, oh my God, this is what has happened to me. And now what do I do? Right. So, so I said, so 45 days after Ajay passed away, I found a course, a coaching course, which fit my budget, which fit my schedule. And I, despite being in depression, and also I didn't want to talk to anyone, I didn't want to be part of anything. I forced myself to be part of those classes. It was just once a week, but even those 2 hours were torture. And I forced myself to be part of it. It went on for a year, and then I finally got certified as an international I'm an internationally certified coach. And then from there, my next journey began. I met a lot of people in the field. I met a lot of coaches. I spoke to people who were, various people came to speak to me also. I think they wanted to offer help, but sometimes people don't really know. They think that they're doing well for you, but they seem to say all the wrong things. So we'll just let go of that. So a lot of basically people told me that I was in no uncertain terms that I was going to fail. I was 40. I had a baby who was 1 year old, and and I was in a career which I had never done before. And they said, you don't earn from coaching. One very senior coach said to me, he said, if I throw a stone in Gurgaon, I'll probably hit a coach. So he said, what's different about you? He said, you're not going to make it. And I remember thinking that, if somebody tells me that I can't do it, I have the urge to do it. It's almost, as a child, one would say, no, don't, but as an adult, I think it's really helped me. So I went all out to say that, okay, I'm going to look for this thing which is unique. What's that unique proposition about myself? So I really spoke to a lot of people, despite very discouraging conversations. I decided to include my art into my coaching work. And I got an amazing chance. And in the middle of this, I have to say that I've also met people who have absolutely put so much faith in me and encouraged me so much and said, oh my, when I've had no experience in this gentleman at IIT, he saw my work. I was doing self-development through. I got a chance to teach art at IIT, to the kids and to the professors. And I said, I will not teach art. I'm going to teach self-development through art. So they said, okay. And then I did that for a year. And so I had students who were 8 years old and students who were 55 years old. And, PhD students, like, their professors, their kids. And this gentleman who ran a department at IIT, he said, we need somebody like you to work with our fourth year students. And I told him, I said, I have no experience in this. So he said, no, I think you can do it. And, this is so thankfully I had the wisdom to grab that chance instead of, I was terrified. And that's when I actually told him that, my circumstances are such that I may not even be able to take out time for it. I don't know how I'm going to do it. But he was like, no, you'll figure it. And, so this is what I think. There are a lot of people who've come into my life who've actually, they've not pitied me, but they've kind of said that we believe in you and you can do it. So for all the 100 people who've said, no, you can't do it, there have been 10 people who've said, no, you can do it. And I've chosen to go with those 10 people and say, hey, you know what, these people are telling me, encouraging me, so I will, I can, because I want to believe in myself. And, this is what I want to teach my child also, because he is going to see me constantly, whether whether how I deal with something, he's going to learn to deal with life, hopefully in the same way. So yes, so that's it. So I'm very...
Yeah. Had people supported you or not supported you, you knew that you would be making something out of the situation. Yeah. And as you said, my story is small. So no story is small, Aparna. That's what we had been talking yesterday. And that's the whole idea here, that we want to highlight every story, every learning, every smallest nuances of the life. So we share and we kind of learn from each other. That's the whole idea of this program is about. So thank you for sharing. So, hi, Anupma. So now,
hello.
Yeah.
Hello, ma'am. Thank you for inviting me to this platform. And after listening to both the stories here, I think, you always think that yours is probably very, you've been through a lot. But after listening to both Sangeeta ma'am and Aparna, it's like mine is not that, you can say, I've not been through that much. Cutting short, I'll just saying that, my struggle started after I lost my very, very loving husband. Will not complete the whole journey. So I'll just take you back and tell you about something about my, before my marriage. So I was a very timid girl, a very average student, not very bright, and but I was always involved in other activities like sports and all other activities. Just to compensate for my being an average student, I'll try to participate in all the activities so that I also can outshine my brother, who was super intelligent and very handsome looking boy in the house, star of my parents' eyes. So anyhow, I took up because I've always used to wonder why good people suffer. Why is law always on the side of wrongdoers? So I asked my father that I will like to do LLB, and that is how I ended up being an advocate, being a lawyer by qualification. While I was doing my this law, I got married. The man I got married to was a fabulous person, and he actually introduced me to the world. He told me that I am beautiful. I too hold something in the world. but don't know what, nazar lag gayi jise kehte hain, and I lost him. I had a 6-year-old boy, and one day me and my son, we were sleeping, and in the middle of the night, we got a call that he was on a conference, and we got a call, and we were told that he was found locked up in the bathroom, and without medical assistance, they just lost him. So we will never know what happened. And my world stopped. A person, a very, very weak person, and all of a sudden somebody whom I was depending upon had gone, had vanished, and leaving me with a 6-year-old boy. I don't know what to do, but only thing that came to my mind was that whatever happens, I'll not let my son suffer any kind of loss. This loss will not make him suffer more in the life. And that is how my journey started. My in-laws told me that they don't want to keep any relationship, because for them the reason for relationship was my husband, and so he's gone, so they don't have anything to do with me and my son. So my father, we were in Bangalore, and my father said that he cannot stay with me in Bangalore, so I had to come back to Chandigarh with him. So Chandigarh being my birthplace, my native town, I just one thing that in my mind that I need to take up a job, because if I go back to my hometown, people will make me a doormat, an absolute doormat. Because with the experience, it just came to my mind. So I appeared for some interviews from Bangalore, took up a job, and it was nice that I got a good job in an IT company. Learned on job, and it was good. The job was doing well, although it took me a long time, 4 to 5 years, to get out of that depression of mine. But like things was coming up, they were looking good, and came another, you can say, jolt. I had a medical report in my hands of my father, and it said that he had cancer. So another stop in my life where I just couldn't let him go. So I immediately gave up my job, and it was 1.5 years long time when we were in the hospital, to surgeries, chemotherapy, and all that stuff. Finally, we were out, and things started looking fine. With no job again, I went back to the courts, started taking up cases. 4 years I tried, but my heart was not there in place. So along with that, my son was growing up, and he wanted to do hotel management. So I opened up a small homestay in my house for him to look up to. So I said, if you are able to take this project, you'll be able to do well in your career in hotel management. And that is how we started this this homestay, and it started looking good. So I left my heart was not in the court, so left my job, came up to this, started it full-fledgedly, a homestay at home, and along with that, I started looking after the social issues. When you start doing something, even if you start alone, like-minded people, you start finding like-minded people, and now I have many people, I know many groups. I am working with many NGOs in Chandigarh. So we try and inculcate the habit of social responsibility. We try to communicate to the people to make them more aware of their responsibility towards the society. So that's my journey. I'll be happy if it can inspire somebody, because if I can do, I believe everyone can do.
So while sitting here, we were talking, and we realized that everybody has some other struggles. The struggles are not small struggles. The struggles are no big struggles, but there is a struggle in everybody's life, and we all have come through challenges. We all have come through situations. And as you said, why we suffer? What's the point of life? At a point, we all feel. So does it happen, Sangeeta ma'am, that we all feel that why do we suffer in life? Does this question come that why me?
See, initially, I don't think so there's anybody who will not ask this question. because it does crop up in our mind. But how long do you let that question stay with you? That depends upon you. Because if we keep sulking and brooding over that, we will never be able to go ahead. Like, so everybody here, I think, they must have thought about this question, why me? Or so yes, it did come to my mind as well. But at the same time, I thought that I just have to see what challenges I have before me, which I need to overcome. But at the same time, just look at the other people in the world. There is such a large number that's going through something or the other, some or the other ordeal in their lives. And if each one of us starts thinking, why me, and I can't do anything about it, then we will never be able to do. It's such a large number. There are millions of people, I think, in this world or in our country itself who are suffering. And we need to come out of that. We have to change our mindset. We need to have, that positivity. Like I always tell people that some people talk about negativity, that, okay, think about what are the negative thoughts. I will not let them enter my mind. So the moment you think about the negative thoughts, they've entered your mind. Why do you even think about it? You are accumulating and then you are saying, now go out. Why need to even accumulate those negative thoughts? Just think at the brighter side. That's what I feel. So yes, the question is very relevant. It does come to our mind, but we need to just put it aside and move ahead in life.
How do you feel, Aparna, about it?
About you, so I just wanted to say, when she was saying negative thoughts, that I have, of course, there have been many occasions when I've felt, why did this happen to me, and I've tried to justify it in different ways, and really bizarre ways also. But I think more than the one thing, and everybody will relate to that. Now we call this time of our lives the new normal, right? So we adjust to everything, and if we want to, that is, right? So 1 year ago, actually 1.5 years ago, I remember saying something to at home, saying, oh my God, like, I have no time at all. Like, I have no time to do anything that I want to do. And it's just like running here, running there, trying to resettle, get my life back in order. And my father just said one thing to me, and maybe it clicked with me at that moment. He said, he's like, if you look at this as something which is weird, it will always remain like that. But if you look at it as your normal, and this is your normal now, then you will deal with it like that, right? And I thought that was just such good advice, So I said, okay, this is not how other people's lives are, but this is my life now. And I have to learn to work around this, instead of saying, oh, ab ye aisa hai, oh, now I don't have time. And I know lots of people who have even very, very minor issues, who always say, oh, but I have this issue, right? So I think it's just about, that really famous saying, if you have the power to change something, go ahead and change it. If you don't, then accept it and embrace it, right? And say, okay, now I'll work around this. So, so I work with that. And I managed to take out like 4 hours in a day for myself to do my work, to chill, to do whatever. Now I managed to do that. 1.5 years ago, I couldn't even think of it. I couldn't see any light, I couldn't understand how it would happen. But if you start thinking about it in a positive manner, it'll start happening.
Yeah, so it's like, how long can you keep on holding the cup of this problem that it is, and it gets heavy end of the day. So it's like, the sooner you move on, the better it is. Yes. So from there to you, Anupma, how did you deal with it? How did you come across the situation? Why me?
I think when the situation comes, everybody, you get there's a strange strength that you get, or probably I feel it that way. I mean, every time I have been, in a situation, I feel that something inside that gives you strength and tells you that you have to get through it. You're not liking the situation, you have to get through it. So you have to get up, get going. You can't just sit and keep thinking, because maybe I've done it once in my life. So now every time I feel that, okay, ho gaya, ab kuch nahi kar sakte, let's get going. So I think,
Meeta, yeah, I just want to add, I always, there's one thing that always used to cross my mind, because in school days we read so many poetries and all, and there was, I read a couple of things and I always thought to myself that I think God is making me suffer because I can handle it. Other
Yeah,
people will
right.
not be able to handle it. I think I can handle it. So he said, okay, Sangeeta, you can bear this. I'm giving it to you. So, that sort of an attitude.
Absolutely. No, I consider that there is some karma that we need to do, and there is some learning for us. That is what we are here for. So by putting us into that situation, he is making us learn something which we need to go further, you know, to improve, to evolve from where we are right now. So that is a challenge. So I take it now. It is every time something comes up. Okay, this is a learning. This is what he wants me to do. This is what he wants me to learn. So that is how I draw energy from the situation. You can say that's my way of.
I feel God always, God, if we believe in God or don't believe in God, whatever, the system, there's a larger plan for us. There's
Yeah.
always a bigger or a better plan. So I also have experienced things in life where you feel it at that moment, it looks so dark and so in the tunnel kind of a situation that you feel that kuch nahi ho sakta. But, but when you start walking, there's always a light end of the tunnel. So
Absolutely.
that motivates. So your stories have motivated so many people. I can see Meenal wants to speak her story. Uh, let me go through. So Meenal, let us hear your story. I know that you have been a part of Sipping Thought, and she's a beautiful host with us who's been hosting shows. So today she is enjoying the space because she wants to come and speak her story.
Sangeeta ma'am, Anupama ma'am,
Hello.
you're awesome.
Hello.
And we're so proud of you, because I can see you guys there on the panel and I can see people there really, like, you've inspired them to share their stories. So which is very good. Your audience, like, it's a very good thing, and you guys have inspirational stories. My story is very small. I'll just tell my journey in short. So basically LSR में थी tomboy, okay, all chilled out, सारा time shorts वगैरह में घूमती थी. So my dad, like, and I was like doing maths honors. So मेरा ना बहुत ज़्यादा ambitious थी, topper type, college में भी topper type. But my dad got me married very early. तो मैं हमेशा ये joke बनाती हूँ कि उनको लगता था कि मैं भाग जाऊंगी, इसलिए मेरी जल्दी शादी कर दी. Anyhow, so मेरी engagement हुई 2003 में. So let's forget the dates. तो क्या हुआ कि मेरी courtship का period था और मेरी family मुझसे मिलने आ रही थी. मतलब फादर इन लॉ, मदर इन लॉ, मामा ससुर, लॉट ऑफ पीपल वर कमिंग टू मीट मी. ठीक है, अब मैं पूरा तैयार हो रही हूँ, फेशियल हो रहा है, सब चीज हो रहा है, सब कुछ मिलने आ रहे हैं. सडनली मम्मी कम्स टू द रूम एंड सेज कि तैयार होने रुक जाओ, अभी थोड़ी देर रुक जाओ. ठीक है, पता चलता है कि उनकी गाड़ी का एक्सीडेंट ट्रक से हुआ है. माय फादर इन लॉ पास्ड अवे, माय मामा ससुर पास्ड अवे, माय हस्बैंड वाज पुल्ड आउट ऑफ द कार. इट वाज लाइक रियली बैड. फिर उसके बाद फॉरगेट इट, आई थिंक आई विल कम इन लेटर. My husband was 23, so he got a rod, plate, everything in his hand, in his legs and hand and everything. फिर उसके बाद क्या हुआ कि जो business था वो पापा का था. So we lost that also. So everybody was like कि करनी है नहीं करनी है. पापा said कि ये शादी के बाद भी हो जाता तो मैं क्या करता, करनी तो इसी से. ये हालत थी कि इन्वर्टर ठीक कराने के पैसे नहीं होते थे, जनरेटर में तेल भरवाने के पैसे नहीं होते थे. आई वाज, एंड मैं आते ही मैंने 1 महीने के अंदर कंसीव कर लिया अपनी डॉटर को. फिर उसके बाद गर्मी जब लगती थी मैं जमीन पे सोती थी, और तो भी शायद मेरे दिमाग में ये ख्याल नहीं आता था कि मुझे गर्मी लग रही, क्योंकि मैं शायद बगल में ना वो चींटी चलती होती है ना जमीन पे, आप लेटे लेटे देखते हो, तो मैं शायद उसको देखते देखते ना मेरी 9 मंथ्स की प्रेगनेंसी निकल गई शायद. और पैसे का भी पता नहीं चला क्योंकि छोटी जगह आ गई थी मुरादाबाद. तो ना मॉल था ना मूवी थिएटर था, तो ये भी नहीं था कि कहीं जा सकते हैं कि नहीं जा पा रही. सो मेरा शादी के मेरे ख्याल से 16, 15, 9-10 साल तो ऐसे बीते ही बीते. आई वाज लाइक लिटरली इन द हाउस स्ट्रेट फ्रॉम लाइक जयपुर पढ़ी, LSR पढ़ी, एंड स्ट्रेट लाइक आई वाज ऑल द टाइम इन द हाउस बिकॉज देयर वाज नो प्लेस टू गो. फाइनेंसेस ऐसे नहीं थे कि, मतलब मुझे याद है कि मेरे बिजनेस की वजह से मेरे हस्बैंड को जब दिल्ली जाना होता था तो वो देखते थे रिश्तेदारों में कोई दिल्ली तो नहीं जा रहा है कि उनके साथ गाड़ी में चले जाएंगे या ट्रेन में चले जाएंगे. मैं हनीमून पे मैं नहीं जा सकती थी क्योंकि स्टिक लेके चलते थे मेरे हस्बैंड. जब शादी भी हुई, जब फेरे भी हुए ना, तो 4 लोग खड़े हुए चार तरफ, इधर से उधर उनको पास ऑन करा गया हाथ पकड़ के, ऐसे 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 करके, तो मेरी शादी हुई. मेरे फ्रेंड्स कुछ लोग ऐसे थे कि जो मजाक उड़ाना शुरू करे कि माड़ू, हमने कहा था ना कि माड़ू से शादी करेगी तो घर में बैठी रह जाएगी, हमारे साथ होती तो हम तुम्हें यहाँ पहुंचा देते. So I was not working. Like totally क्या होता है आपका confidence एक time बाद ना shatter होने लग जाता है. Like I heard things like क्या तुम LSR की पढ़ी हुई हो, you know. You start listening to those things and you start this thing. 9-10 महीने फिर मैंने थोड़ा थोड़ा पढ़ाना शुरू करा. Now my life is such like it's like पूरा जैसे होता है ना टर्न हो जाता है. Like मेरे को गोपाल जी पे बहुत भरोसा है कि यार मैं तो मतलब कुछ भी होता है मैं कहती हूँ आप संभाल लो, मुझे नहीं पता. एंड यू नो आई एम नेवर क्राइड. ये सब सारी चीजें हुई ना, मेरे को समझ में भी थोड़ा सा कम आता था कि ये हो क्या रहा है मेरे साथ. फिर उसके बाद 9 महीने पहले मैंने सोचा यार ये बहुत हो गया ये सब. आई स्टार्टेड री एजुकेटिंग माई सेल्फ. ठीक है, मैंने कुछ कोर्सेस करे. आई डिड वैदिक मैथ्स, एबेकस, क्यूबर, लाइक आई कैन सॉल्व 7 काइंड ऑफ क्यूब्स एंड ऑल. ये सब करा. एंड आई स्टार्टेड विद 9 स्टूडेंट्स. नाउ within this pandemic I have taught over 150 kids. I have hired a teacher. I have students in Indonesia, Japan, US, everywhere. And I am the host in Sipping Thoughts. My own show is coming out where I am an anchor, which is called Meenal Muradabad से. तो वक्त है ना, वक्त ठहरता नहीं है किसी के लिए और वक्त एक जैसा भी नहीं रहता. बस सोच सही रहना. एंड मुझे लगता है ना ज्यादा दिमाग ही मत लगाओ उसमें. कितना बुरा हो रहा है, इतना बुरा हो रहा है. दिमाग लगा के टाइम वेस्ट करने से अच्छा ना काम करने पे दिमाग लगाने लग जाओ. So I think that's how you start working. So you have to say कि, और सबसे बड़ी मुझे लगती है ना बात कि अपने आप को परमिशन देना होता है कि मैं कर सकती हूँ. सुल्लू देती है ना अपने आप को, मैं कर सकती है. So that's my fun and that's my small story. So yeah, thanks. So वही है, छोटी सी है.
So it's very nice, Meenal, because you say that I believe in Gopala and we don't realize our Gopalas are us. It's we drive ourselves, and so Gopala or they come for our support. I think so. So that's what we say, that every story is inspiring here. Every story. So I want to call Bhanumati, and after that Vijeta. So hi Bhanumati. Damini, unmute her.
Bhanumati, please unmute yourself. I think there's some audio issue. Maybe we can take Vijeta first.
Yeah, so take Vijeta in first. Could we unmute her?
Yeah, wait. Well, I think there's some issue with her audio as well.
Okay. So basically, let's get back to us, because we realize that challenges, and somehow I feel, and what was the support system that we felt that motivated us, that was a light that, because we, like yesterday we had been talking, that sometimes women around us largely they kind of question, they say na ki jagah bahut kam hai, so we women feel very insecure and we don't let women grow. We have done previous conversation on it. So Sangeeta ma'am, did you feel like that it's more than men, the women who have kind of raised a question or a pointed a finger?
No, it's not that. I think there should be some sort of a professional rivalry we can have or something like that. Yes, one odd incident once in a while, but by far, I don't think so. Most of the women have not been like that in my life. Whether it is one odd case can be there, but we cannot just brand all other women that they are against us. My best friends are women. I'm from a co-ed school, so I have these boys who are my friends, and now their wives are such good friends of mine. So I wouldn't say, but yes, one or two times it did happen, but I just put it aside and I thought maybe it's some sort of a professional rivalry. That is why it has come up like this. So it's fine. I have been very lucky.
What about you, Aparna?
Well, I I was mentioning today also to you earlier that there are two sides to it. There's one, of course, I think some of the most encouraging people around me definitely have been women. My mother, my sister, some family friends, some other friends. They've just been phenomenal. There's no other word for them. Always there. Always checking on me. At the same time, I will also say that, you know, the minute, and this, I don't know how many people may have experienced this. You know, earlier when I was single, I didn't think so much about it. But when Ajay passed away, I realized that a lot of his friends' wives suddenly started seeing me as a threat. And, you know, to me, that was initially really odd. Then I thought that maybe, then I've even gone out of my way to become friends with them, you know, because I think that they have to feel secure. If I need any help from Ajay's friends, then they have to feel secure, right? But I have experienced like a couple of his friends and their wives, we've stopped talking, you know, because it's just become such a, I don't even know how to deal with it anymore. So, you know, at some point you start saying, you know, then maybe this is not important enough. And, you know, when they realize that there's nothing there, they'll come around on their own, right? So, to me, you know, and yes, a lot of people do automatically seem to see you as either that you're looking for pity, or they seem to think that you are definitely, because you're a single mother with a little child, you must be thinking about, you know, you must be like this horrible creature, like who wants money, you know, only, and this will do anything to get it, you know. So there is all this, you know, the fact is that so socially people do think like that. They do think that, I do know that a lot of people also think that I must be terrible because I'm not living with my in-laws. Like I'm like the worst daughter-in-law in the world, you know, possibly by just the fact that I don't want to live with them right now, right? So, you know, so we have, and women will tell me that, right? So, so we have a lot of, you know, big long way to, you know, in the sense of accepting that other women can be independent, and maybe it comes from a position of insecurity or these judgments. But, you know, by far and large, I've had the most amazing women around me, you know, my mom, my sister, Neera, she's here, you know, my ex-colleague Preeti, who I worked with, you know, these people have just been phenomenal, you know. So, you know, I'm sure there are lots more who I'm yet to name, but I'm just, you know, so, yeah, it's both things, I think, you know.
No, I agree with you,
I
Aparna.
think, and I think where the real issue is that, you know, when a woman kind of is judgmental or seems to behave like this, you feel even worse, because you feel, can't she understand, you know, you feel worse about it, you know. And far more than if a man was to say the same thing. I would of course say that, oh, he is, you know, biased, gender biased. But if a woman does it, then I'm like, how can you not understand this, right? That's where it hurts more, I think. That's
So
all.
yeah, very small space for women, and then you feel that rather being my support group, why are we having this kind of,
especially those women whom have been, you know, who have been with you during your, you know, college school days or college days, when this kind of bias come from them. I mean, something happens with you, you are already going through a trauma in your life, and then this kind of biases, they, you know, all the more they play with your emotions and your mind, and they kind of push you more, you know, in a depression kind of thing. But I have experienced that new people, who come into your life during that time, you know, they are more open, they are more, you know, they are more open to welcome you into their lives than those people whom have been with you. They shy away. Probably they don't know what to say and what to do and how to deal with the situation.
because
That's
crisis
the generation
time,
gap.
yeah.
That's the
And,
generation gap, probably.
and crisis time, I think you invite only people who you feel that they are the support ones, or filtration happens automatically, I feel, in tougher times.
Yeah, that's right. You come to know who are going to be with you for longer.
So can Vijeta, we can unmute her now. She wants to speak her story. Hi, Vijeta.
Hi everyone. Hello.
Yeah, hi,
Am I
Vijeta.
audible?
Yeah, you're audible. Welcome.
Hi everyone. Yeah, so I wanted to share my story. Yeah, thank you so much. So thank you for giving me this platform, and I wanted to share my story. And I'm actually MDR TV survivor. So जब मेरे को हुआ था 2013 में, तो उसके बाद तो लाइफ बिल्कुल ही चेंज हो गई थी. लाइक बहुत सारे साइड इफेक्ट्स, मेडिसिनल साइड इफेक्ट्स, वो सारे रिलेटिव्स ने भी मतलब साथ छोड़ दिया. सिर्फ पेरेंट्स उस टाइम हमारे साथ थे. तो उस टाइम पता लगा कि जब भी कोई प्रॉब्लम आती है तो कोई भी आपका साथ नहीं देता एक्सेप्ट योर फैमिली। तो सारा सब कुछ जो है मतलब फैमिली के ऊपर ही। तो जब मेरा ये सारा कोर्स एक्चुअली अप्रोक्सीमेट 4 से 5 साल सफर किया है इस चीज से, तो जब इस चीज से ओवरकम कर ले तब मैंने ये सोचा कि किसी और की भी हेल्प हमें करनी चाहिए। तो बस उसी के बाद मैंने फेसबुक पे या कैसे कैसे यूट्यूब पे लोगों को ढूंढना शुरू किया जो कि टीबी से मतलब परेशान है, जिसे को प्रॉब्लम है। तो उसका एक व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप बनाया, हम 3 लोग हैं, मेरे एक और भी फ्रेंड्स है, वो भी उन्होंने पहले मुझे ढूंढा, फिर हम तीनों ने व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप बनाया, जिससे अब हम जो टीबी वॉरियर्स हैं, सफर कर रहे हैं, उनकी हम हेल्प करते हैं। वहां से वो अपनी प्रॉब्लम्स शेयर करते हैं, कोई रिपोर्ट्स में प्रॉब्लम हो तो हम डॉक्टर से कंसल्ट करके बताते हैं। और वहाँ पे फन एक्टिविटीज भी करते हैं, जैसे क्योंकि वो बहुत ही इमोशनली वीक होते हैं, बहुत ही सेंसिटिव होते हैं। तो जितने भी लोग हैं वो अपनी मतलब सारी प्रॉब्लम वहाँ पे शेयर कर देते हैं, क्योंकि वो हर चीज वो फैमिली से शेयर नहीं कर सकते, तो इसलिए वो वहाँ पे शेयर कर देते हैं। अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस अब मैंने एक यूट्यूब चैनल भी स्टार्ट किया है जिसमें मैं बताती हूँ, क्योंकि हमें जो डॉक्टर है ना उस टाइम ये नहीं बताता कि वो मेडिसिन कैसे लेनी है, क्योंकि मेडिसिन होती है 10 से 12 टैबलेट लेनी होती है और 6 महीने इंजेक्शन लगते हैं। अब तो शॉर्ट ट्रीटमेंट भी इसका चल पड़ा है, लेकिन जब मैंने लिया था अप्रोक्सीमेट 24 मंथ्स मैंने लिया था। तो इसीलिए मैंने सोचा, उस टाइम में सोचा था कि अगर मुझे अच्छी गाइडेंस उस टाइम मिल जाती तो मैं इतना सफर नहीं करती, इतने साइड इफेक्ट्स का मुझे मतलब पता नहीं लगता। तो मैंने अब यूट्यूब चैनल स्टार्ट किया है कि उसमें मैं हर एक छोटी से छोटी चीज बताने की कोशिश करती हूँ कि अगर ये चीज करेंगे तो इससे साइड इफेक्ट्स कम होंगे, या कोई मेडिसिन है जो मैंने यूज की थी, या कोई ऐसा ट्रीटमेंट है जो मैंने यूज किया था जो वॉरियर्स की हेल्प कर सके। तो बस अब मैं उसी कोशिश में लगी हुई हूँ कि किसी तरह जो है इंडिया टीवी फ्री हो जाए, हम जो हैं अभी वॉरियर्स हैं, हम एक दूसरे की हेल्प कर सकें, इमोशनली एक दूसरे के साथ खड़े रह सकें। तो एक्चुअली लड़कों का फिर भी ठीक होता है, लेकिन लड़कियों को ना बहुत ही ज्यादा प्रॉब्लम होती है। जब उनको ट्रीटमेंट होता है उनकी बॉडी में भी बहुत सारे चेंजेस आते हैं, जैसे कि उनके हेयर फॉल हो जाता है, बॉडी वेट बिल्कुल ही लूज हो जाता है। मेरा 20 kg लूज हुआ था उस टाइम पे। तो यही होता है कि फिर जो मैरिड हैं तो उनको ससुराल वाले ट्रीट नहीं करते हैं ढंग से, और जो अनमैरिड हैं तो उनका ये होता है कि अब इनकी शादी होगी कि नहीं होगी। पेरेंट्स को तो यही रहता है कि अब हमारी लड़की की शादी होगी कि नहीं होगी। तो ऐसे बहुत सारे मतलब सोशल स्टिग्मा भी इसके साथ बहुत है। जो पेशेंट है वो सिर्फ साइड इफेक्ट्स या मेडिसिन से ही सफर नहीं करता है, बट सोशल स्टिग्मा भी बहुत ज्यादा है। तो इसलिए मैं इस चीज के ट्यूबर प्रोसेस के बारे में इतना बात करना चाहती हूँ कि इसको एक नॉर्मल टीबी मतलब नॉर्मल बीमारी की तरह ही ट्रीट किया जाए। मतलब लोग सिंपैथी देते हैं, जैसे अभी हमने बात की सिंपैथी और इम्पैथी में लोगों को डिफरेंस नहीं पता है। लोग सिंपैथी देते हैं लेकिन इम्पैथी नहीं देते हैं। जब किसी को कैंसर होता है तो सर कहते हैं ओ माय गॉड कैंसर हो गया, राइट। लेकिन अगर किसी को टीबी हो जाए तो उसकी तरफ लोगों का रिएक्शन ही अलग होता है, सब दूर भागते हैं। ठीक है, कॉन्टेजियस होता है, बट इसके लिए प्रिकॉशंस लेंगे, अगर अच्छे से ट्रीट करेंगे तो वो क्योरेबल भी है। बट ये चीज लोगों को पता नहीं है, या पता भी है तब भी लोग इग्नोर कर देते हैं। तो मैं बस यही मेरी कोशिश यही है कि टीबी एक नॉर्मल बीमारी की तरह हो जाए और इंडिया टीबी फ्री हो जाए, और जितनी मैं हेल्प कर सकती हूँ मैं उतनी हेल्प करूँ आगे भी फर्दर। तो बस यही मेरी स्टोरी है। एक्चुअली आई एम इन ऑफिस राइट नाउ, बट मुझे अटेंड करना था। आई वाज सो ग्लैड कि मैं शेयर कर पाई और मैं इतने सारे लोगों से मिल पाई। आई एम सो हैप्पी। थैंक यू सो मच।
So, yeah, Vijeta, your story is inspiring, and that's again that what we all need: small efforts, big efforts, whatever we can do in our own capacity, and that is how we can bring some change. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So we can see Seema here. Seema, you
Yeah.
have been with us for a very, very long time. Welcome back.
Yes,
So let's
thank you.
hear you.
Yes, long time, and I just love it every time whenever I'm there watching you all talking and all those inspiring talks and beautiful talks. I mean, like you just bring out lovely conversations. Anyway,
Thank you.
my story. I mean, I would just say I'm a simple housewife. I mean, a housewife story. I mean, the normal जो हम सबकी stories होती है, लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं बस इतना कह सकती हूँ कि कुछ कर पाई जिंदगी में इसलिए खुश हूँ. I basically I'm from Bombay, and as Meenal said, got married in Jaipur. So when I got married, it was a total round circle for me because वही मिनल के जैसे मुझे भी पढ़ने का बहुत शौक था, being a topper all the while. And एक बड़ा वो था कि yes, I am that thing, everywhere that my parents were so proud of me, everywhere, wherever I should go. And then I landed in Jaipur, the family total conservative, and I think nobody could understand. I mean, कि भाई क्या है, क्या education मैंने देखा भी नहीं मेरी family में. My mother-in-law was totally uneducated, and there I could see that she would not allow me to read even papers. And माहौल इतना था मारवाड़ी फैमिली लाइक यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड कि घर में काम करना है एंड दैट टिपिकल बहू एंड सास दैट टिपिकल you could call Lalita Pawar story and all that. And for me, it was such a change. I had no friends, no family in the city, like, and then being the eldest of all, I could not say anything to my parents also. But I think the only habit which kept me alive and going was my reading habit, learning habit. Being a learner, I kept learning, reading, and maybe that adversity became a blessing in disguise for me, because there and then I found my kids, they were coming out so well everywhere, wherever I went. The happiest day would be when I would go to the school and they would say, I mean, your kids, they're just awesome. Like, I used to ask them, just give me some complaint of my kids. They say, we just can't say anything. And the biggest compliment I received from the school principal the day they said, it's not about the how academically bright they are, but as a human being, I mean, I must salute you for that, the way you have brought out the kids. So that made me so happy. And even then, I remember, like, when I used to meet the teachers and all, they used to say, we were so scared of you when you used to come to the school that, oh, the most intelligent mom is coming. And definitely, but of all the stories, I mean, whatever. But then, and the happiest day came when my daughter landed into MIT, Harvard doing her master's, and my son got into Oxford. So, I mean, these two, they gave me so much of happiness. I mean, staying at home, I think that was the biggest blessing for me, that I could bring up such kids, and still I get the compliments, not being, I mean, definitely for the academic qualifications, whatever they are, but such a nice human being. Like, that compliment really makes me happy. And it keeps going. Like, definitely I haven't worked. I would love to work now also, but being the same scenario at home, I think maybe I can do just my work the same, she said, by giving to the society, by helping out. Yeah, I have been inspiration to many mothers who are staying at home, that how they could nurture the kids and make a happy home. And for me, I always believe that if a person comes out of a home, if he's happy, he sends happiness into the society and it spreads. So I think that really works. I mean, if a person goes out from the family, it spreads into the society, in the country, whatever. So, and with that mindset, I just keep working. Whatever I can do, that's a small thing, but maybe it works.
So that's again we get.
I don't know, it's a big, huge story or something, but that is it.
No, Seemaji, that's exactly what we say. Every story is a special story. None of the stories, nothing would have happened if we hadn't done this and done that. So every effort of life is to be worth appreciated, and we should pat our shoulders that, yes, I did this. That is what that matters. So we are here. Yeah, thank you, Seemaji. The last, we are running short of time. We want Tanisha quickly for 2 minutes if we can hear a story, and then we will get back to our host.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, so my story is like, I'm suffering from borderline personality disorder. And I think one disorder is always incomplete with the different symptoms, Matlab, you don't necessarily suffer from one disorder when it comes to mental diseases. So it is always comes with anxiety, depression, obsession. So I've been ignoring all the symptoms for a very long time, but then, and I've been to psychiatrist, I've been to a counselor, I've been to a healer, but somehow, I don't know, nothing works, in the sense that I can feel complete at peace with myself. So my life has never been like a balanced kind of a thing. It is always a wavy kind of journey. Like, I'm up and down and up and down. So it's like so difficult I mean, it is like I've never lived a normal life to say when I look at others, for them, just getting up, doing this daily stuff is so normal. For me, everything is like a task, even getting up every day and doing the regular stuff. And, if 3-4 days in a row I'm doing it with full spirit, it is like, oh my God, 4 days I didn't have any downtime, I'm not feeling low. So it is like that. The most struggling part of all this would be like being accepted the way we are, because we all are different packages, as we would like to be accepted with all our flaws. No, I consider this as a flaw. What do you say? A neural flaw, maybe a something which we can't do anything about. The way we are born, of course we can do meditation and yoga and all that. It will help us, but not totally. So the main tough part I would require from other people is like just being accept us the way we are, with the little sensitivity, intensity, overreaction, a little bit of empathy. Yeah, I heard some participant about the empathy part, and I can totally relate to it. It is, the empathy part that is like lacking in the normal public, and the people who suffer from mental disorder, they are very much normal and they have great empathy for other people. But the normal people, I feel, they lack empathy completely. Completely. That is, I think, where the whole problem arises. The symptoms, aggravate because of that, because we are not accepted as normal people. So that's where the whole thing aggravates, and then we need to take pills. Otherwise, we would be okay with the normal yoga, meditation. We would be okay with it if we are accepted with our intensity, with our sensitivity, with our mood, swings and all that. If we are accepted that way, we are pretty much fine. We are pretty much fine. It doesn't go out of this thing, we'll say, wherein we can't control. Only it goes out of control, for me at least, when I see that, people are not accepting me, they are judging me, they are talking behind my back about me, all those stuff. It really affects.
Anisha, that is the whole idea of bringing the people and getting together here, that the judgment and then empathy, everything. So that's why the story, I can take it to Sangeeta ma'am, because who knows better than all of us, like who have gone through all this. And so Sangeeta ma'am, I have last few words of inspiration, and what is your
thank you, Meeta. Yes, we need to change the perception of the people in the society. We've already talked a lot about empathy, that we need to shift from sympathy to empathy. If I look at from my angle, if I talk about the persons with disabilities, I want to see that fundamental shift from a charity approach or a subsidies approach to a rights approach. People need to give us our rights. That is very important, because of what I'm suffering. So I see, I'm doing well in my life. I'm teaching. I'm happy, being with the children. I feel that there's a lot of change in the children, because the age group I'm teaching, I feel really honored to be a teacher. And I feel that children feel so happy when they are around you, and they are pushing each other, that today it's my turn to help ma'am, we need to pick her up, the wheelchair, and take her to the first floor or the second floor, or things like that. So yes, at the grassroots level, at the school level, I hope the teachers can do that job and bring about that change. Then another thing that I always talk about is that people should not consider disability as inability, which is a very, very wrong thing that they have in mind. A person may be disabled, but you cannot just say that he is not able to do something, or you brand them as unproductive. You cannot. You just give them, a chance. You give them an opportunity. You give them an enabled environment which is missing, like the wheelchair accessible areas or things like that. Give them an enabled environment, and you just see how productive they can be. So, from that point of view, I think a lot of changes need to be brought about, especially in India, because in India, mostly, people are not able to they don't even know what sensitivity is, or how to sensitize the entire situation, they do not know how, the PWDs feel in the presence of the able-bodied people, as they say. So things like that. And also, another thing that I always think about, that a person who, if a man lacks the use of his eyes, doesn't mean that he lacks vision. So I would like to, want people to think over that.
Thank you, Sangeeta ma'am. It's so inspiring. Aparna, last takeaway and giveaway from you, and Anupma from you. Yeah.
Just one this thing that, I mean, really it's your own life, and it's eventually we are the only ones who can help ourselves. And I always think that, what am I going to leave behind? When I go, like, when Ajay went, I do know, the one thing that I think he always marched to his own drumbeat, which was so fantastic. You do what you want to, not at the expense of, like, not to the point of being the selfish human being. But I think somewhere we need to realize that, a lot of women tend to have a sense of, this is what I should be doing, but eventually what you should be doing is not necessarily what you should be doing. And, you're the only one who can take that decision and also help yourself, instead of saying that, oh, I'm not, everybody's circumstances are different, but you're the only one who can extract yourself out of it. And no one else can. People can give you a hand, but if you don't take that hand, nothing can change. That's all.
Wow, thank you, Aparna. It's so inspiring. Anupma, last takeaway and giveaway from you.
I think Aparna is agree with Aparna and Sangeeta ma'am. What we have to do is we have to help ourselves in every situation, to draw your own strength from your inner self. And looking at everybody's struggle, everybody is struggling in their own sense. So whatever the situation is, take your call and act upon it. You can't just sit and watch and expect others to do things for you. So you have to do it by yourself, for yourself. And we generally, the problem is, we women, we keep ourselves at the back of everything. We keep priorities to the rest of the things, but अपने आप को पीछे छोड़ देते हैं. So that should not be the case. Love yourself, then you can probably give. The takeaway for me is that love yourself as well, and then maybe I can give more to the other people as well.
Thank you, Anupma. So we kind of end with it that we are the reservoirs of energy, positivity, strength, and wisdom. Nobody else is going to give it to us, and we have to keep our remote control in our hands. And every adversity teaches us to bring some positivity and something new in life. So on that note, thank you, Sangeeta ma'am. Thank you, Aparna. Thank you, Anupma. As we can see, we are getting so overwhelming responses from our audience. And this is the whole idea behind doing this show, that every story inspires other people, and they feel what we are doing is not small. We are doing something that is worthwhile and inspiring. So thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Mita, for bringing everybody at the same platform. So thank you. And it was really nice listening to everybody, especially Aparna and Anupma.
Likewise.
Thank you so much. Likewise. Absolutely. So happy to meet you all. Bye. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.